There are various assignments that you'll be expected to complete during the course: monthly journals, essays and case studies. This section covers the particular skills you will need to satisfy the requirement to submit regular journals. Journals are an important part of your assessment as a trainee therapist. They should be largely reflective in nature, but you also need to cover certain learning criteria, and this sometimes creates confusion among students. Hopefully these points will help. Firstly, journals and essays are not the same. Essays follow a particular structure, are referenced and are more academic in nature. Your journals can be structured more loosely, and they don't need to be referenced unless you choose to do so. You may still need to cover certain criteria. This is important as your tutor will need to ensure that you've understood the themes and concepts from that module. The journal is a chance to demonstrate understanding and offer your opinions and ideas about the content that you're discussing. It's also an opportunity for you to reflect, not only on theories and concepts, but on your own development as a therapist. For example, you may reflect on the following questions and discussion points. What are you particularly enjoying? What are you finding challenging? How are you growing as a person? What skills are you bringing to the course? What skills do you still need to develop? When you become a qualified therapist, you will, as a matter of course, reflect continually on your own practice. This type of critical reflection is essential for development and self-improvement, so it's crucial to get into the habit as early as possible. It's also a skill that you'll need for your case studies. The need to acknowledge your own limits and flaws, as well as your own strengths, is of key importance. The word count for your journal should be within 10% of 1500 words. You should always include your word count on any piece of work that you submit. You usually have some specific learning criteria to cover. This will be clear in the journal instructions for that module. It's very helpful to your tutor if you can write the learning criteria covered in the margin of your work. So what can you expect from your marker? Your tutor will be looking for a good understanding of the learning criteria, your own reflections, your own experiences of practice within your study groups and with volunteer clients which relate to the specific themes of that journal. And in return, your tutor will give you constructive feedback, clarifying any necessary points and giving you any further guidance. You will need to submit your journal on Moodle. You should have received details of how to do this, but as a quick recap, you'll need to go through the following steps. Go to the relevant page to access your module and click on the assignment you want to submit. If you're submitting more than one assignment, you'll need to submit each one separately. If you want to add a note to your tutor, click on Submission Comments within the Submission Status section. Click on Add Submission to upload your assignment. Complete your assignment by typing directly into the text box provided or by attaching Save Documents and click Save Changes. If you need to, you can edit work before your final submission. To do this, click Edit Submission. When you're ready, click Submit Assignment. You won't be able to make further changes after this. Lastly, please read the declaration and tick the box to confirm that you're submitting all your own work. Your tutor's comments will also be fed back to you via Moodle. Check your understanding. I'm going to read out 2 excerpts which relate to a module on stress and anxiety. You can also read these in your hard copy. See if you can identify the excerpt which would best fit the description of a reflective journal, as I've already outlined today. Excerpt A. Anxiety can be defined as a feeling of worry, nervousness, or unease about something with an uncertain outcome. Stress, on the other hand, is a state of mental or emotional strain which directly results from particular circumstances. The difference, therefore, is that stress is situational and current, whereas anxiety is more related to feelings of fear about events in the future. I've considered this from my own situation, and although it seems that I often use the term anxious when I'm describing how I feel, stressed may be much more accurate. That's also made me aware of how language is sometimes used inaccurately and ambiguously, and how we as therapists need to be very mindful of this. The word depressed, for example, is often used to describe a general feeling of being fed up rather than a clinical condition. I need to be more careful with this, as I know that I've done this myself. As I continue with the course, I'm finding myself questioning my use of language more and more and tuning into feelings rather than resorting to labels. I'm particularly aware of this when working with volunteer clients, and it's helping me to focus on what's really behind the terminology we use. Excerpt B. Stress in its current usage was coined by Hans Selye in the 1930s. Selye was an Austrian endocrinologist who studied the effects of stress on the human body. He defined stress as the non-specific response of the body for any demand for change. Conversely, anxiety, although often linked to stress, can be described as an emotional response to a threat in the future, rather than a current and specific situation. This threat can be real or perceived. In the case of anxiety disorders, these share a general feature of excessive fear to perceived threats, and sufferers demonstrate behavioural and functional disturbances as a result. An example of this would be panic attacks, which feature in the context of several anxiety disorders and reflect this excessive fear response. So which one would you choose as a typical journal, A or B? Hopefully you identified A as the one which represents more closely what a journal should look like. It has information related to learning criteria, but in addition, it reflects on the experience and development of the student. Although it contains a quoted definition, it doesn't include formal academic referencing, which if you look at your hard copy, you will see that Excerpt B does. If you weren't sure, then watch this video again to make sure you know what elements are important for journal writing. Journals are a great way of being able to develop as a therapist. If you have any further questions about how to tackle them, your tutor will be happy to help. Good luck.